tweeting?
No one.
What's going on, everybody? This is Keith Niebuhr. Welcome to the Rapid Reaction edition of the Gators Online Show. I'm here with Zach Alberverdi, also of Gators Online. We're going to break down Florida's 23-21 win right behind us at the Swamp on Saturday night over Mississippi State. But obviously, we're not going to spend too much time talking about the game because there are other things to talk about. There are bigger things to talk about, including the future of Billy Napier. Zach, just your takeaways from this day as a whole. Then we'll get into the game, and then we'll get into Billy Napier's future. Kind of a surreal day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was intriguing to see how this game was going to play out, what the team was going to look like, what kind of matchup we were going to get. And it was really a microcosm of the Napier era, honestly. You had some elite defensive play at times. Defense saved the day again. You had some pockets and moments of offensive success, and certainly a strong day from Jaden Baugh. But then you had certainly some bad plays from Lagway. He made a lot of good plays as well, but he had some bad plays, certainly the two picks that have kind of marred his season. And then obviously Florida had the issues. They had 12 men on the field at one point. Obviously the third down call late might have been one of the worst third down calls of the Napier era. And then just to have it finish the way it did, where in the final minute of that game, the fans are shouting "Fire Billy" multiple times, booing him as he's coming off the field, despite an incredible finish to the game, a great play by Mekhi Barrow. The stadium went nuts. And I wrote it in my story, Keith. Napier said when, they love you when you win and they hate you when you lose. Well, they won tonight. It seemed like they still hated the guy.
You were in that we're already getting not you. I'm getting shredded here in the comments, but you were in the press conference after the game, and you were listening to Billy Napier. He was getting asked questions, and the players were getting asked questions. Could this be the final game? And could this be a situation where, or what do the players think? And boy, they deflected. They just said, "Hey, look, it's out of our hands," and yada yada yada. And Billy said basically that he just wanted to celebrate this win. He would worry about tomorrow. Again, it just had that really weird feel to it, Zach, in the press conference. They've gotten progressively weirder the last few weeks, almost like he knows there's a finality to all this. Did he sound like a guy that thinks he's done coaching at the University of Florida?
Yes, he did. It was the most resigned that he had been. And he still enjoyed the win. He still enjoyed the moment with his team, but you could just tell by the way he acted after the game on the field. He was taking pictures with his family at midfield. I can't recall him ever doing that after a game. So that kind of stuck out to me. And then just the way that he talked about the win, talked about the team, talked about his players, kept it about them each time he got asked about his future, what's next. I asked him, did he want to finish out the season? And he just wouldn't go there. And for a guy that I think did want to finish out the season or felt like there was a chance that he could, you would have expected that maybe he would state his case there and say X, Y, and Z of why I want to continue coaching. And he didn't even do that because I think he knows what's coming.
All right, we're going to keep the talk about the game to a minimal, I promise, like under a minute here. Zach, Florida fell behind 7-0 early, and you're thinking, uh-oh. But then they played
7-3.
Excuse me. Well, wasn't it 7-0?
I can't even remember. Yes,
Mississippi
maybe.
State scored first. It was 7-0.
Yeah, that's right.
By the first minute of the second quarter, it's 10-3. Florida got some momentum, went up 20-7 in the second half, then led 23-14 late.
Yeah.
Things got really dicey at the end. And I think that if Florida wins 23-14, people were, whatever, 9-point win, still not great. But, hey, look, it's a win. Now, that doesn't mean they'd want to keep Billy Napier. Don't get me wrong. But the way it ended, Mississippi State went down, scored. It's 23-21. Florida gets the ball back. And in one series and really one play, this place just nearly burned to the ground. It was a 3rd and 1. If Florida gets a first down, it's effectively over. Instead of running the ball, it's kind of a passing type play. DJ Lagway gets sacked. At least he didn't throw it away. He took the sack. Mississippi State, I believe, had to use a timeout. Just a kind of a disaster. They have to punt. Mississippi State goes down the field, Zach. And if not for Mekhi Burrow's leaping interception, was a horrible pass, by the way, but if not for that play, Mississippi State is setting up for a game-winning field goal, and he doesn't even get to celebrate a win. It was such a disaster in the final few minutes, and that just has so many of these fans. Everybody that's leaving comments here, how do y'all feel? I mean, you must have just been pulling your freaking hair out. I mean, at that point. But Zach,
I thought they were going to lose.
22-23 overall, 12-16 in the SEC. But really, that one series essentially was a microcosm of all these people on this live broadcast right now, all their complaints through the years and all of our criticisms on that one series. Would you agree?
It was. And I don't know if I said it, but I don't know if there's been a worse third down call. I know Napier defended it after the game saying, hey, we ran that earlier with Aiden Mizell and it worked. Well, it worked, did not work in that situation, and why they would not give the ball to Jaden Baugh when it's 3rd and 1 and he's had a career day is baffling. And the fact that they found themselves in that situation, I felt bad for the defense, man. They were about to be in another scenario where they played great for the most part, and then the game got away from them at the end. I mean, Mississippi State scored back-to-back touchdown drives in the fourth quarter after not getting anything after their opening drive in the rest of the first, second, and third. It was definitely a bend but don't break scenario for the Gators there.
They were about to break. Before we move on to get back to Napier, just some individual performances real quick. I want to point out Jaden Baugh, career high, 150 yards rushing. I know all of y'all love him. Alfonso Allen, former walk-on, had to play a lot tonight at safety due to all the injuries, 15 tackles. Cameron James, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Trey Smack hit 2 field goals of over 50 yards, or Florida doesn't win this game. He now has 8 career field goals of 50-plus yards. So some really good individual performances. But, Zach, to the matter at hand, it's Saturday night. It's 10:32. Sunday night at 10:32. Just, what's your gut telling you if Billy Napier is going to be the coach or not tomorrow? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you and I have these feelings about things, and everybody wants to know what you think.
Yeah, I think that was the final act at Florida for Billy Napier. He goes out a winner. He goes out with 4 straight wins over SEC teams at home. There's a USF loss in there. But, I mean, he goes out a winner. Look, I have enjoyed personally covering the guy. He's been the best Florida football coach to me, and just in terms of how he's dealt with the media, how he's dealt with me. So I hate to see him leave. But the writing has been on the wall, and it was all leading up to this game throughout the week. And I think that the way that this game played out, we said it all on our shows, Keith, and even on Gators Online, that there was a good chance that he could be gone on Sunday regardless of the result. Well, I think because of the result that we got and that he got and the way that this game played out at the end, the fan frustrations boiling over, even in a victory, that was, I think, the final nail in his coffin. And I think tomorrow night we'll be talking about who's next for the game.
Yeah, a win, but too many of those. Too many a win, buts. Too many it was a close game, but too many buts, too many ifs. Not enough action, not enough wins. And Billy Napier has been given a lot here, an army of a staff. They let him do it his way. The administration at the University of Florida gave him much, asked for a little.
Yeah.
It just hadn't. It's a results-oriented business.
We got a super chat, but I do want to give a shout out. Mention this comment right here.
Yeah. Shout
out to the players, man. They did never quit during all of this.
They did,
right? I mean, it would have been very easy for them to mail it in.
Yeah. Let's get to the super chat real quick here.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Hold on.
You putting it in there? All right. We want to get to a few of these, but yeah, look, it's been well, there you go. There's your question. Napier out.
Cut the crap.
Yeah. He's well, what do you think? Okay, so they make the move tomorrow, let's say, like both of us think Florida's probably going to do. What does your instinct tell you about who the interim coach potentially could be, Zach?
Yeah, well, I think that it would have been Jabbar Jalouk for sure, had that suspension not happen. But I think because that happened, there is maybe some thought that it could be Billy Gonzalez. There's talk of Ron Roberts because he's been a head coach before. I don't expect that it would be him. But based on what I've been told today, Keith, here at the stadium, I still think that it's probably going to be Jabbar Jalouk. I think that he served his 3-game suspension. He's obviously paid the price for what he did, but he's been, cleared to continue coaching, and that can't keep hanging over him and be something that holds him back, at least not this season. So he is the associate head coach. So if we're just going off of staff titles, he's the next guy in line. And I think that Jabbar Jalouk will be the interim.
The schedule has been difficult. I don't think anybody's going to, argue with us on that. But Billy Napier's record against ranked teams over the last 4 years, Zach, is only 5-17. He is only 3-12 against Florida's rivals. Against those ranked teams, by the way, 5-17. All 5 wins came here. That means 0-14 away from the Swamp. They just didn't cut it. They just didn't get it done. If Billy Napier just goes 500 against teams that are ranked, he's sitting here at 27 with 26, 27, 28 wins, right, in that range. And there's no question that he's got a future ahead of the University of Florida. But they didn't win enough, Zach. There was too much unevenness. And I think the thing that really has frustrated almost every single fan, probably every single fan in here, was the insistence of maintaining control of the offense. Now, as you've reported before the previous season, he did try to go out and hire somebody. That didn't work out. But essentially, this really falls on him. I mean, when you're the head coach, it's always on you. But when you're also the offensive coordinator, and the offense, quite frankly, statistically regressed each of the 4 seasons. This is not us spitballing. These are the stats. These are the facts. The offense has regressed a little bit each year. Yep. Tonight, 452 yards. Good game. But only 3 games over 400 yards this season, and one of them was against Long Island. The offensive inconsistencies, the head-scratching decisions like the one tonight to have DJ Lagway throw the ball, the miscues on special teams going back to the 2 players.
The 2-point play.
Yeah, the 2-point play tonight. Florida's got 12 men in the huddle.
Which could have ended up being the difference in the game.
Absolutely could. Just too many miscues. The things that did in Ron Zook, who, by the way, good guy, worked hard like Billy, tried. It just didn't work. Doug Dickey, all accounts, good guy, tried hard, just didn't work. Again, it's a results-oriented business, Zach, and they just didn't win enough. But I wanted to ask you this. You've been covering this program a long time. Do you see talent out there? Do you see talent out there?
Yeah, and I do. And that's probably what is the most frustrating aspect of all of this. Is that you see the talent, and I think that if we're talking about Napier's tenure, and that's the one thing that you always like to look back on to judge a coach, is did he leave the program better off than when he inherited it? And I think from a roster standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, the answer is undoubtedly yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they are not better off from a coaching standpoint than where they were 4 years ago. I think that you give Dan Mullen this roster, I think that he wins a lot of games. I even think that if you give Jim McElwain this roster, he wins a lot of games. So while they're probably I think they are in a better place from a personnel standpoint and just overall talent. Their coaching and certainly their win-losses have taken a drop-off.
All right, let's say I put that super chat up too early, Zach. You fixed it for me. But let's get to some of these. These will pay some of the bills, by the way. Real quick, your thoughts on Urban Meyer. Do you think he would be a candidate, Zach? What do you think?
I mean, I would give him a call. I just don't know that in this day and age of college football, the way that the game has changed, his style of coaching, his style of motivating, his style of running a program back like he did at Florida and Ohio State, I don't know that would jive in 2025. I just don't know that you can interact with the players in that same way. Not to say that he can't be successful or that he couldn't, lead a group of men, but it's just, the way that he went out at Jacksonville, I still think leaves a lot of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially here in the state of Florida. So I think it's always hard to try and go back and bring somebody back for another stint. For years, Florida fans wanted Steve Spurrier to do it, and it never happened. I don't think that will either.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's hard to replicate something twice. I mean, F. Scott Fitzgerald used to say there are no second acts in American life, and sometimes there have been coaches that went back and had success in round two, but replicating what a 39, 40-year-old Urban Meyer did when he's now 60 plus, and 5 years into this job he had burnout. I mean, you know what I mean? And so I don't know that you can replicate that success, to be honest with you. It'd be very hard. I think what you do is you go out and you try to find the next Urban Meyer, the next guy. And that's what Florida's always done, Zach. You go back historically, and should things happen the way we think they might happen in the relatively near future, we'll look back at all of Florida's past coaching hires. And with the exception of Jim McElwain, they've all been under 50 years old. The permanent coaching hires, Doug Dickey, 30s, Charlie Pell, 30s, Steve Spurrier, 45, Urban Meyer, 39. All these guys were sort of doing this, right? Now, some of them worked out, some of them didn't. Will Muschamp didn't work out. I thought he'd be great. He wasn't. But UF has sort of a blueprint, and we'll see in which direction they would go.
I got to say, this might be the greatest super chat that I've ever seen left on a video. Our guy Black Pine Lab says, Keith, there were too many butts, but there's no such thing as too many butts, my brother from another mother. Go Gators.
Yeah, well, look, again, you start looking at results and you say, oh, if this would have happened, or if that would have happened, or this break and that break. But listen, Zach, I went back and looked at the 17 losses to ranked teams for Billy Napier, and I want to say 12 of the 17 were by 10 or more points. So look, people can argue, and I actually personally like and know Ron Zook, and look, it didn't work out, but he was unlucky. Now, he made his own luck sometimes, but there were games where they lost by 3 points and 4 points and 2 points, and a guy slides instead of going for the first down, and that's how they lost. Don't get me wrong, not defending it, they lost, right? But he built a roster that stood the test of time with the next coach and led to a national championship, particularly on the interior. But this program, in these losses to ranked teams, they had, again, Zach, 12 of the 17 losses to ranked teams by 10 or more points. Now, the LSU game was competitive this year. They lost 20-10. You take away the 5 interceptions, it might have been closer than that, whatever. But, Miami beat them by an average of 21.5 points in 2 games, Zach. I mean, come on. So they really weren't that close, okay? They played a tougher schedule. All strength of schedule of the last 4 years for these guys was in the top 10 every single year. A lot of guys didn't have to do that, right? We know that. A lot of coaches of Florida have had tough schedules, but not that tough. But you have to at least grind out some wins, and they just didn't. They didn't. They're not among the better programs in the SEC. Somebody says, everybody take a breath here. I thought he was telling me to take a breath. But Zach, even when Florida had 2 top 10 recruiting classes in a row, very good, right? Top 10 class. They were only 7th best in the SEC. So, even when you thought there was something they could hang their hat on, when you really pulled the layers back a little bit, it wasn't as good as we thought. But again, it all comes down to the results, and they just haven't been there, Zach.
Yeah, no, they have not. And, at this point, we're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
We're gonna be back with you guys, I would imagine, Sunday at some point to share our reaction to whatever news comes out. And where Florida goes from here. I would assume that we're going to have a press conference from Scott Strickland, presumably at some point. So we will be on standby. But that is our expectation here at Gators Online, that we will be covering a coaching change starting on Sunday. And this season and this fall is about to get interesting, Keith.
About to get interesting, but like I always say, the minute they say that a chain smoker stops smoking, the lungs begin to heal. They begin to repair themselves, and that's probably what will happen the minute this has happened. By the way, it'll be good for the fan base. It'll be good for Billy Napier, a guy you and I both like. Personally, we do. I think if a lot of these people ripping him knew him, they would like him. Doesn't mean you have to like the decisions. Doesn't mean you have to like the results, but the person. Billy Napier worked hard, and he tried his best. It just wasn't good enough in this situation. And anyway, we both agree that Lane Kiffin will probably be the number 1 target, right?
Yeah, Zach? I think you start in Oxford.
All right. So for this edition of the Gators Online Show, rapid reaction following Florida's 23-20 win. That's it. For Zach Alberverdi, I'm Keith Niebuhr. Hey, we appreciate all you stopping by. If you're driving home tonight from the game, please be careful on the roads. And maybe I'll see some of you at the Wawa in Ocala in a couple hours. Take care, everybody. We'll do this again soon. And let's see what happens. Thank you so much. And make sure you go to gatorsonline.com to check out all of our content and hit the like button and the subscribe button below. Take care, everybody.